Tyler Perry wasn't supposed to be the villain in this story. He was the Hollywood heavyweight who opened his doors when the royal family slammed theirs shut. The man who gave Harry and Meghan sanctuary when they needed it most. But sometimes your greatest protector becomes your most dangerous enemy. And right now, Perry is sitting on 17 hours of recorded conversations that could obliterate everything the Sussex brand represents. The friendship that once looked unbreakable has just shattered in the most spectacular way possible, and Harry's emergency flight back to the UK tells you everything you need to know about how terrified they really are. When Harry and Meghan fled the royal family in 2020, they weren't just leaving behind titles and traditions, they were walking away from centuries of protection, protocol, and most importantly, financial security. The world watched as they burned bridges with the institution that had sheltered them, but what most people didn't realize was how desperate their situation really was. That's where Tyler Perry stepped in like some kind of Hollywood fairy godmother. His Beverly Hills compound became their safe house, complete with military-grade security, private staff, and total media blackout capabilities. This wasn't just hospitality, this was witness protection for wayward royals. Perry didn't just offer them a place to stay, he became godfather to their daughter Lilibet, creating bonds that seemed unshakable. But here's what nobody knew at the time. Those walls weren't just protecting Harry and Meghan from the outside world, they were containing something far more explosive. Late-night strategy sessions, carefully rehearsed interview talking points, and most damaging of all, brutally honest conversations about their real motivations. Perry saw it all, heard it all, and apparently recorded it all. The man they trusted with their deepest secrets was quietly documenting everything. 17 hours of raw, unfiltered footage that reportedly shows Harry and Meghan not as victims of circumstance, but as calculated architects of their own media empire. Sources close to the situation describe conversations where sympathy was discussed like a commodity, where public perception was dissected like a business plan, and where family relationships were analyzed purely through the lens of marketability. But that protected bubble was about to burst in the most devastating way imaginable, when Derek Dixon filed a $260 million lawsuit against Tyler Perry for alleged sexual assault and harassment. Everything changed overnight. The billionaire who seemed bulletproof suddenly found himself vulnerable, and in Hollywood, vulnerability spreads faster than wildfire. Harry and Meghan were faced with an impossible choice: stand by their friend and risk their own reputation, or distance themselves and look like fair-weather allies. They chose self-preservation, and they chose it fast. Meghan's response was swift and ruthless. Photos disappeared from Instagram feeds, mentions of Perry as godfather were scrubbed from official statements, and public thank yous were archived without explanation. Her social media team moved with the precision of a crisis management firm, erasing years of friendship like it had never existed. But Tyler Perry didn't build a billion-dollar entertainment empire by being naive about human nature. He understood exactly what this silence meant, and he was prepared for it. Buried in the legal agreements that Harry and Meghan signed when they stayed at his property were clauses that now give him full authority to share his side of the story. And those clauses include permission to release recorded material. The first leak was just a warning shot, but it hit its target perfectly. Audio allegedly capturing Meghan discussing audience manipulation tactics, Harry expressing frustration with Netflix's creative demands, and both of them strategizing about which family members to blame for their various grievances. It was a glimpse behind the curtain that shattered their carefully crafted victim narrative in a matter of hours. But that was just the appetizer. Industry insiders claim Perry has everything from video footage to annotated transcripts showing just how choreographed their post-royal transformation really was. And the timing of these revelations couldn't be worse for a couple already hemorrhaging money and credibility. The financial reality hitting Harry and Meghan right now would terrify most millionaires. Their Netflix deal expires in 2025, and executives are reportedly frustrated with low viewership numbers and weak content performance. The Montecito mansion that was supposed to symbolize their American dream has become a financial nightmare, with property taxes alone costing nearly $300,000 annually. Add in round-the-clock security, full-time staff, luxury maintenance, and those Instagram-worthy renovations, and you're looking at monthly expenses that would drain most trust funds. Their production company, RQL, is reportedly in chaos after losing key executives, while investors who once saw brand potential are now quietly looking for exit strategies. The Spotify deal that was supposed to generate millions crashed and burned in 2023, leaving behind only a trail of disappointed executives and unfulfilled promises. Speaking engagements that once commanded six-figure six-figure fees are getting canceled as event organizers worry about associating with controversy. ArcUL Foundation donations have plummeted as donors question where their money is actually going. Behind the scenes, staff morale has collapsed. Multiple sources describe an environment of paranoia and finger-pointing, where NDAs are being rewritten to include even stricter confidentiality clauses. The house that once buzzed with PR strategists, personal assistants, and media consultants now echoes with whispered conversations and emergency video calls. Even Meghan's carefully planned comeback projects are falling apart in real time. Her lifestyle show With Love Meghan was supposed to be the soft relaunch that would restore her domestic goddess image, but test audiences reportedly found it cold and calculating. The pristine kitchen, the carefully curated products, the rehearsed spontaneity, none of it felt authentic to viewers who have grown increasingly skeptical of her motives. The podcast deal with new partners has been quietly delayed, officially for timing reasons, but industry sources suggest it's really about optics. No brand wants to launch a major project in the middle of a full-blown reputation meltdown, especially when more damaging revelations could drop at any moment. And those revelations keep coming. Multiple streaming platforms have now backed away from potential projects, not because of budget concerns, but because of toxicity concerns. One Netflix partner allegedly withdrew from discussions after hearing what Perry might release next. Another investor reportedly told colleagues they wouldn't touch anything with the Sussex name attached right now. But perhaps the most telling moment came during a recent interview when Meghan was asked what she would change about public perception. Her response revealed everything wrong with their current strategy. Instead of self-reflection, she demanded that people tell the truth. No acknowledgement of mistakes, no recognition of how their own actions contributed to their situation, just the same blame everyone else mindset that has turned them from sympathetic figures into public punchlines. That's when Harry made his most desperate move yet, a panic flight back to the UK that nobody saw coming. The booking was made at 2 a.m. California time under an alias, with a private jet chartered through shell companies to avoid media attention. No advance notice to the palace, no coordination with royal protection officers, just Harry alone fleeing the California bubble like a man escaping a burning building. Because that's exactly what it was, a 5-alarm fire threatening to consume everything they built. This wasn't about family reconciliation or emotional healing. This was pure damage control, an attempt to get ahead of whatever Perry might release next. Sources close to the situation described frantic phone calls to old contacts in Britain, desperate attempts to rebuild bridges that Harry himself had burned just years earlier. He's not returning as a prodigal prince seeking forgiveness. He's arriving as a liability trying to minimize fallout. The man who once publicly criticized the institution that raised him is now crawling back across the ashes of those relationships, hoping for protection that may no longer exist. Meanwhile, Meghan remains in California, clinging to the remnants of an empire that's crumbling faster than she can rebuild it. Industry executives are describing the Sussex brand as running on fumes, while Montecito neighbors whisper about unusual staff turnover and financial strain. The tragedy of this whole situation is that they actually had it for a moment. Global sympathy, unprecedented media attention, unlimited potential. They could have built something meaningful and lasting. Instead, they chose to monetize their pain, commercialize their family drama, and treat their personal story like a product to be sold to the highest bidder. What Tyler Perry has now is more than just leverage or revenge material. It's a mirror that shows Harry and Meghan exactly who they became when they thought nobody was watching. Hours of conversations, behind-the-scenes footage, private dinners, strategy meetings. Everything they believed was safe inside those Beverly Hills walls could now be weaponized against them. Sources say Perry has already been approached by major media outlets offering enormous sums for exclusive access to his recordings. So far, he's declined all offers, not because he won't eventually share the material, but because he understands the power of strategic silence. The threat of revelation is often more damaging than the revelation itself. And that's what really has Meghan terrified right now. Not the money problems, not the canceled deals, not even the public criticism. It's the loss of control. The Sussex brand was always built on narrative management, controlling the message, controlling the timing, controlling public perception. Now, for the first time since leaving the royal family, someone else holds the cards. The most devastating part of this betrayal isn't the recordings or the lawsuits or even the financial collapse. It's the reminder that Tyler Perry didn't set out to destroy them. He opened his home when they were homeless, offered protection when they were vulnerable, and stood by them when most of Hollywood was still hedging their bets. But when they deleted him from their carefully curated social media presence, when they pretended years of friendship had never existed, when they chose their image over his reputation, that's when the gloves came off. This isn't revenge, it's a reckoning. A reminder that even in Hollywood, some relationships are too sacred to sacrifice for PR purposes. Because here's the brutal truth about fairy tale endings. They only work when you remember to thank the fairy godmother. And when you forget that basic courtesy, when you mistake loyalty for weakness. Don't be surprised when the magic disappears and you're left with nothing but the wreckage of your own ambitions. Harry's flight back to the UK isn't a homecoming, it's a retreat. And Tyler Perry's 17 hours of recordings aren't just evidence of bad behavior. They're proof that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the friend you betrayed. The Sussex dream of American royalty is over, and the very man who helped them escape their old life might be the one to ensure they never build a new one.